Hello, welcome to my channel. Today we're looking at a John Doe. He was discovered October 14th, 2021 in Orem, Utah. He was 35 to 45 years old, estimated. And when I did the search, I added some years on to both ends of that. And then it says 5'11" to 6'6". And estimated age 35-45. Let's see. Skeletal remains located in a farm pasture. Utah County. Near a complete skeleton, not recognizable. They don't know the hair color, the eye color, anything like that. He had a bus card, food cards, fibers from clothing. So, there's no estimated year of death. No estimated PMI, so I don't know which years it could be. So I just did a search, and then I tried to organize it by the years might be different because some of them I tried to do it by like closer. So let's start with the first one I have. I have Jamison Nathaniel Gordon, and he's only 23 years old. Remember, it's 35 to 45. He's 6 foot tall, 140 pounds, but he went missing from Orem, Utah in 2021. So, and he was 6 foot tall, and this talks more about him. If you want to pause it and read it, you can. Because I have so many to go through, I'm not going to sit here and read them all. But it's there. Then we have the next one is Dwayne R. Dutton, 43 years old. Also Orem, Utah, but it was 2007. 5'10". And I believe it said 5'11" to 6'6", but estimated that they want to leave some of them out. So, his vehicle was found abandoned near Squaw Peak and Provo Canyon. Brown hair, blue eyes, Grim Reaper tattoo. We have Justin William Hooiman, 2017, Salt Lake City, Utah. That's about 37 minutes away. He's only 27 years old. He's 6'1". And it talks about where he was staying and his circumstances, and it gives a physical description of him, and you can pause that and read it if you like. And then we have Mark Richard Johnston, and he went missing October 12th, 2016 from Sandy, Utah, which is about half an hour away. 5'9" to 5'10", and again it was 5'11", I believe, to 6'6", but I left him in. And you can pause that and read it. He was last seen at work, but he may have cashed his check or accessed his bank account the next day. So, oh, and he's got a thin frame. I remember seeing a John Doe recently that was wearing a slim clothing. So, then we have Vern Richard Morris. I also saw a John Doe recently that had boots similar to the boots he was wearing in a picture too. So, which is a different one. But we have very few John Does and so many missing people. So, Vern Richard Morris, date of last contact 2021. In Tooele, Utah, and that's about an hour away. 6'1" to 6'2", and he was 32 years old. So, and there's the circumstances and physical description, so you can pause that and read it if you like it. And then we have Adam Hutchinson, Sandy, Utah, which was a half an hour away. Did I say that already? Tooele, Utah is an hour away. Sandy, Utah is a half an hour away. Oh, yeah, they were both from Sandy, Utah. June of 2006, 5'9" to 5'10", and it's at 5'11". 29 years old, and it's at 35 to 45. But they said he possibly drove his truck into the Jordan River. And it gives a description and things like that if you want to pause it and read it. Jeffrey Dell Nichols, Salt Lake City, Utah. I believe that was 37 minutes away, all the way back in 2004. 40 years old, so the age is right. The height is right, 6'2" to 6'3". And there's the circumstances. They found his pickup in Salt Lake City, Utah, abandoned, brown hair, blue eyes. They don't know what happened to him. Stephen Willard Anderson, Salt Lake County, Utah, 46 years old. 2004, 5'11" to 6 foot tall. They just said he was last seen June 3rd, 2004, and he may be driving a green Toyota. They don't know what happened to him. And let's see what else we have. Joseph Michael Bushling, Dugway, Utah. And that's about an hour and 45 minutes away. So, May 11th, 2011, 26 years old, and it was 35 to 45, 5'8" to 5'10", and it said, what, 5'11" to 6'6", so. And it talks about the circumstances, and then you get the physical description. They found the vehicle he was driving off a ravine, off a gravel road, some distance from the military post. Oh, yeah, that was also found. I think he broke down and ended up walking, and they didn't find him, so. Ryan Stephen Jensen from Erda, Utah, and Erda, Utah is about an hour away. 33 years old, and it was 35 to 45. He's 6 foot tall to 6'2", so the height's about right. And that's in 2007. Let's see. He didn't show up for work. He missed an appointment. They don't know what happened to him. So then it gives the clothing and things like that. Harold William Galvis, Salt Lake City, Utah. Remember, that's about 37 minutes away. He's only 26 years old, and it was 35 to 45. He's only 5'10" to 5'11". It was 5'11" to 6'6". And so then it gives some more information, and you can see the circumstances and the physical description if you want to read it. Next we have Kenneth Batchelor, 2000, January 2000, 32 years old, 5'8" to 5'10", which is a little short and a little young, but he was a transient who traveled through Oklahoma, Arizona, Utah, California, and Colorado. And so you can read that. You can read his circumstances and his physical description. Then we have Richard Roy Billmayer, 1997, which is a long ways back, in Ogden, Utah. And Ogden, Utah is about an hour away. So 5'11" to 6'1". It really doesn't give much information. Just that it was suspicious circumstances when he disappeared. And he had tattoos. William McBride III, 1994, Salt Lake City, which is 37 minutes away, 35 years old, 5'10" to 5'11". And so it doesn't give a lot of information. He may have headed towards Cedar City, Utah, and they don't know what happened to him. Then we have Dennis Smith, 49 years old, 1993, Salt Lake City, 6'3". And he traveled regularly between Hawaii and Utah. He was last seen at a nightclub. His vehicle was found at a hotel, but he didn't seem to have stayed there. And there's more information about him. And then we have Dean David Brown, 1986, Salt Lake City, Utah, 43 years old, 6 foot tall to 6'3". He said he was dropped off in the parking lot, East South Temple, and never returned home. They couldn't find him. His car was found at the airport, but he had disappeared. Reminds me of the vehicles found at the reservoir when they say located abandoned at the airport. Okay, then we have Jeffrey Lynn O'Carroll, 1986, Salt Lake City, 36 years old, 5'10" to 6'1". Oh, he was doing laundry at the hospital and he felt sick and he went to go home and he went to meet his sister and he never showed up. She never found him or anything. We have Stephen LaGoria Hughes, Bountiful, Utah, 1986, 46 years old, 5'11". He was last seen at his home. His truck was found the next morning at his business, but he didn't tell anybody he was leaving. He's never been seen or heard from again. Fred Richard Davis, August 28th, 1985, Naples, Utah, 31 years old, 5'11". He was last seen September 2nd, 1985. He was supposed to meet family in Jackson Hole. His vehicle was located Las Vegas, Nevada. Okay. Joseph Louis Santee, 1977, Salt Lake City, 54 years old, 5'7" to 6'1". He was last seen Saturday evening and is missing under suspicious circumstances. All 3 vehicles he owned were left at his apartment. Robert Lugo, 1986, Mountain Green, Utah. Robert Lugo. Mountain Green, Utah is an hour away. Okay, 6'2", 29 years old. He was missing, and several days later they found his motorcycle. He told her he was going backpacking and was supposed to be back that same Friday, but they haven't heard from him and they couldn't find him in a search. And there's a physical description. He had a green backpack. Michael Guy Johnston, 1981, Brigham City, Utah, 32 years old. And Brigham City is about an hour and a half away. 5'11". There's just no information really on what happened to him. Timothy Jordan Boone, this is 2021, August 2021. Moab, Utah. He was 36 years old, 6'2", so he's about the right age, he's about the right height. He went missing in 2021, which isn't long before the body was found, I don't think. He goes by his middle name, which is Jordan. His vehicle broke down. Him and his dog were picked up by someone on an ATV, taken to a fire station. He got his vitals checked. All his belongings were left in the van, including his wallet. An officer put him up in a hotel for the night until someone could pick him up the next morning. He left the hotel sometime in the night or morning, and his last confirmed location was in Moab, Utah, at a T-Mobile store. And nobody's ever seen or heard from him since. Which is pretty creepy, right? Bart Sherbrooke Felt, 2018. San Juan, Utah. Oh, and I should mention that Moab, Utah was about 3 hours away from where the John Doe was found. And San Juan, Utah is about 5 hours away. So, 2018, 6'1", 46 years old. A backpack which is found contained a note that led officers to believe that he might have been in danger. He was wearing a monitor and traveling to see his father or coming back or something, and driving over a bridge. Well, his last location of the ankle monitor was near that bridge, and he has never been seen or heard from since. So there's a lot of speculation of what could have happened, but nobody knows. Martin Andrew Smith, Escalante, Utah. And Escalante, Utah is about 4 hours and 15 minutes away. And I think the last couple after this will be about, they're all about between 3 and 4 hours away. So 2017, He was 5'11". He went camping, and it said his belongings were there for a long time. His vehicle was later taken, or his vehicle, I don't know if his vehicle was taken before he disappeared or not. So they found a receipt. The last receipt was November 27th. So he had guns and everything, red hair, and his belongings were there, and they don't know what happened to him. So Stephen Thel, Kocher, like I said, it's either between 3 and 4 hours away, St. George, Utah, but he went to Las Vegas and different places, I believe, and he was 5'10" and only 30 years old. So but I didn't want to leave him out. And then we have the next one is Douglas Wallace Benson, Moab, Utah, 38 years old, 6'1" to 6'2", 2003. And there's not a lot of information. He could have been anywhere: Utah, Colorado, California. He traveled. They didn't say how he traveled, whether it was hitchhiking or if he had a vehicle or anything like that. Toby James Jesperson, and it just says Utah, Utah. Like, they don't know where at. October 1999, he was only 25 years old, 5'9" to 6 foot tall. And it says he's been in Colorado, Oregon, Idaho, and Utah, and they don't know what happened to him as well. So there are all the missing people that I pulled up in my search for the John Doe that was found in Orem, Utah. If you have any information about who the John Doe might be, any information, or maybe it's hearsay, just whatever information you have, please contact authorities and let them know. If you have any information about any of these missing persons, you should contact authorities and let them know. You never know how it might help. Maybe you're not sure if it's important, you're not sure if it's true. They might have information from somebody else that's similar to yours that they weren't sure if it was true either. And then on top of your information, you just never know what might help them and what might not. It might help them create a timeline, a location of where they might have been, or anything. So the more information, the better, I would think. But don't forget to pray for their loved ones and their families, because these are all people whose families and their loved ones, they haven't had closure. They don't know what happened to their loved one. And it's just very, very sad for somebody to have to go through that. Feel free to leave comments and have a blessed day. Bye-bye.